Hi guys, I am Ibigandscary and I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay. This one posted to the subreddit Castit. I'm not 100% sure who posted it though. I think it was Noseknowsall, because that's such a clever nickname and only clever people go to the subreddit Castit. But we'll see. I mean, Quip means a clever retort, so you know what? It could be either. I do know that both players are high masters, mid masters, depending on your definition. Noseknowsall is going to be in the top right corner, bottom left, Quip. Quip being the blue Zerg, Nose being the red Terran. And this is a brand new map, one that I've never played upon. It's called Condemned Ridge. I think it was introduced with the new season being opened up. Some unique aspects with it. It's a pretty large map as far as things go. Large middle ground divided up with a hole to prevent straight up and down slugfests. Still some terrain to use. There's two Xel'Naga towers overlooking that middle ground, which also overlooks the very exposed fourth that each player can push for. Super narrow and long ramp leading from the high main down to the natural, which is, as far as things go, is pretty easy to defend. You still have a large ramp, but it's the only entrance into the natural. And the third is directly behind that ramp. It is right there. You come down that ramp and you are directly in that the third, which is phenomenal, especially for Zerg. What's not so good for Zerg is you have this high ground right here. Pretty easy to exploit with some Marines, especially easy to exploit with some siege tanks or some storms. That would be a bad day right there, but as times goes on, I'm sure both players are going to learn different ways to position their overlords, position their spores to defend against that position. You can see that Noseknows is going for a first barracks with no gas at all, no early tech. Quip is throwing down his first hatchery to take that early expansion. And with the spawning pool directly behind it, we're probably going to see them both pop at the same time and see both queens come out at the same time. Both players have done their scouting early, Quip sending his overlord off in the wrong direction. But he does know because of his drone that Noseknows is in the top right corner. We can see Nose is sending out his SCV, getting in position to drop that command center. He's going to take that early expand. Going to rely upon the early long distance to protect himself from any early aggression come out of Quip, and because of the expansion that he's taking, he's not going to rely on early pressure. We can't see no gas has been grabbed by Quip or Nose, so neither player is going to rely on early tech to get the advantage. They're both going to rely on early expansions. This SCV just double checking that there's nothing in that area, maybe going to throw down some awkward structures. A command center is going to be morphed into an orbital, maybe rain down some extra mules, maybe come here to take out that third because of the protected situation it's in. It's probably not a bad call. I expect Quip is going to move up and take his third sooner rather than later, just because of the size of the map. Larger maps tend to favor more macro fests. You can see that both command centers are being finished up while Nose is throwing down two more barracks. That's mainly for defensive purposes. He wants to make sure that he's prepared for anything coming out of Quip. We can see that even though he's got an extractor, he's not mining anything from it, and he's not researching that metabolic boost. So sooner or later, he's going to start mining from this, get that 100 gas for the Zergling speed, so they can put some pressure on Noseknows. A spine crawler in position just to protect this early expansion from some early cheese from Nose. Maybe 2 racks pressure is what he's nervous about. A Zergling gets bullied out of the Xel'Naga tower, while Nose takes position there with a single Marine. It's good to have that map control, even though he's probably not going to be able to keep it against the ultra-aggressive Zerg. It's still nice to know exactly when that rush is coming, and that Xel'Naga tower is probably the best position for that Marine for now. Orbital getting morphed in. It's already finished at the main expansion and the main base, but the third command center is going to switch over to the orbital. If Noseknows isn't 100% comfortable with taking the third, he's probably just going to use that to rain down mules, supplement the SCV construction, but we can see he's got a lot of minerals lined up. He's probably going to intend to spend that one way or another. 2 gas for him. Going to be teching With this tech lob on the barracks, he's probably going to start using that Marine siege tank build that seems to be the favorite of both players. Roach Warren coming up, as well as a Baneling Nest. Baneling Nest pretty standard against these Marine siege tank build. Those Marine bundles really like to favor drops, and Banelings can be very handy when dealing with them, as well as some Baneling landmines just to prevent some aggression. We can see a layer coming down that's going to help with any sort of roach push that Quip ends up doing later on. The upgrades that can come out of a Roach Warren once that layer is up can be very, very handy. You can see a factory being built. I wouldn't be surprised if this barracks decides to throw down a reactor for some Hellion harass, or just to have a tech lab ready for when that factory comes out. Or we can see that factory, once it's being built, in turn throw down a tech lab so that the starport that's coming out secondary gets used for the medevacs. Personally, that's probably the way I would go with medevacs on this map. It's so large, drop play is going to be incredibly handy, especially with this third coming up for Quip. A drop right here can do some pressure on the mineral lines. Even a drop right here with the army out of position due to some other aggression can do some damage. If that fails, it's such a short path by air up to here, and even a shorter one to here, just to do damage. Well, a single queen's not enough to deny that aggression. Some Zerglings take out the Marines. Nose is lamenting the fact that he lost his Marine. A reactor coming down the factory means that it's going to take off, and this starport's going to take advantage of that reactor to crank out those medevacs. So we are going to see some heavy drop play, especially as we see 4 more barracks coming out to add to the mix. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 barracks total. It's quite a lot of ground units. This wall-off's complete. Nose is going to be feeling very comfortable with his economic standing as Quip gets up this third. It's still going to be pretty much neck and neck. We can actually see that Quip's a little bit behind. But once that saturation picks up at the third base, we can see them get even. 1-1 finishing for the Zerg, 1-1 finishing for the Terran. Banelings are being morphed in right here, more defensive than anything else. I don't think he's planning on doing a bust, even with this small number. If he is, he's not even going to get through this supply line, as these Marines are more than enough to pick off the majority of the Banelings. Zerg speed and Baneling speed. Speed's really going to be key to this map, with the large distances between the two bases. Speed's mostly going to be used for defensive purposes, trying to deny drops, or once the siege tank line gets complete, whenever Nose decides to push out, Zerglings are going to have to be able to close very, very quickly to that siege line. We see 2 Banelings getting in position. It could be there's not enough to decide to push in here, but these 3 are going to get scanned, picked off very quickly by Nose as he pushes off with a moderately sized army. You can see he's got that barracks still stocked with more supplies pushing out to stand behind that supply line. Nose just wants to make his presence known right here. Maybe he's going to get into position to do some aggression to that third. Maybe not. That's really his call. A very large amount of Banelings being morphed up here for Nose. It could be that he's intending a Baneling bust on the front door. We can see the 2-2 get started by both players, as neither of them are intending to do a large push right now, but a drop consisting of 2 medevacs filled with Marines is going to come around on the east side, or west side, excuse me, to drop down here. Maybe do some aggression at the third once they realize it's there. It's probable that he intends to come up here, take out some of these tech structures. I really like the play of splitting up the tech structures, having the Infestor Pit and Spawning Pool in the main, and the Baneling Nest and the Roach Warren down here in the expo, the main expo. That way that no matter how destructive initial drop can be, it can only succeed in taking out a handful of tech structures. Some Banelings coming around, even if these Banelings take out this, that's not the most cost-effective use of Banelings. If it could take out the entire drop, that'd be one thing, but with medevacs being able to drop 1 Baneling at a time, it can really limit the amount of units that a single Baneling can take out. this other push comes down here, denying the fourth from Quip. So he's going to get frustrated at his ability to hold off this. And with one Marine being dropped at a time, if those Banelings had waited to explode, then they wouldn't have been able to explode at all, because those Marines would have just killed them. But as things were now, the Banelings only succeeded in killing off a handful of units. Another drop, 2 medevacs coming up to drop on this side, take out this gas, maybe the spawning pool, which would be devastating, but you can see that the defensive structures have been positioned. 3 Marines get headed off by some Zerglings as the initial drop has been decimated to the point where they have to fall back. Both medevacs look like they're going to go down, but the Marines are already there doing significant damage to the amount of roaches, taking down that queen. At the same time, some stragglers of Marines and Marauders who didn't quite fit stand by. This sort of all-encompassing aggression from Terran is just incredibly effective. You see that there's no drones right here harvesting any minerals at all, and with a single drop of a Marine that kills one Baneling, which is not cost effective at all. And Quip knows it. He's probably getting frustrated with his inability to deal with this drop. Fortunately, all these medevacs are completely empty. They have to fall back, but you can see here that there's such a large force from the Terran, and 180 over 110. He's completely drawn ahead. He could probably push out with this army and deal 100% with what Quip can field. However, we do have some infestors on the play. They've been out long enough. They get their fungal growth up. Double check that the glands are done, so every single one of these infestors that come out can drop a fungal, which is going to be devastating to this large bio force. But even if those fungals are perfect, Quip's going to have a very hard time saving this fourth from utter destruction. And if Nose decides to push, even this impressive looking force isn't going to be enough to take out all those Marines. So here we see the Marines pushing in. They've got stim, they've got shields. A very small amount of Zerglings falls almost instantaneously as the Terran force shoots and scoots into here. Quip manages to cancel the hatchery, loses the drone, but saves a lot of minerals. He has to stim again to push in with this force. Excellent fungals, holding those units in place for the Banelings, but there just wasn't enough Banelings to take them all down. Nose decides to press his advantage, stimming one more time into the creep with a scan going down to take out those drones. You can see a Spire on the way, as well as Siege Tech. If Quip can hold this, he might be able to bounce back with some Muta action to hold them off, but as he's laughing out loud and he sees the supply as one half, even less than one half, he begins to make excuses, which is a shame, because I feel like he played well, especially on a map he's never played before. The aggression that comes from Nose as far as airplay was rather intimidating, I have to admit. It doesn't look like a single drone is going to make it out of that third, coming back to the fourth, and it looks like Quip's preparing for the GG. Nose definitely outplayed Quip. I feel like he took advantage of the terrain faster. Maybe Nose had played this map before, knew about the terrain that he could take advantage of. Maybe he didn't, and Quip just didn't react fast enough. I think as the metagame evolves, we're going to learn to see some impressive play. We've got 4 Banelings on them. That's a good play right there. Good play for Quip. Nice reaction there. But even that's not going to angle it up. That was a good game, Quip. That was a good game, Noseknowsall. I am Big and Scary. That was thanks for watching. I'll see you kids later. Bye.